Hey everyone, and welcome to my brand new channel, Talks with Deezer. Guys, I am nervous, I'm anxious, I'm excited, like everything, all the emotions are like rolling into one right now. I'm feeling everything right now. Guys, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, to set up this channel. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has joined me on this channel from my other channel, That Mr. TV. For those of you who don't know, if it's your first time here, or your first time seeing me, I have another channel with my partner, Outlaw, that's called That Mr. TV. Go and check that channel out, it's great. And that channel is all about my life in Jamaica. So I moved from the UK to Jamaica a few years ago, and my partner and I set up this channel called That Mr. TV, and it just showcases our life in Jamaica. We go around and we explore the islands, show you guys different adventures, talk about how to settle down in Jamaica if you're new to Jamaica, try to give you tips. So it's a bunch of great stuff over there, so go and check that out, okay? But with this channel, guys, this is going to be a lot different from That Mr. TV channel. And I've been wanting to do this channel for the longest time, like I've said, because I really want this to be a space where we can just chop it up and just talk about all different subjects, okay? So this channel really will allow me to be a little bit more vulnerable with you guys, to open up a little bit more with you guys, to let you guys know a little bit more about me, to share some of my story and some of my journey so far. And let me tell you, this has been a bit of a battle, an internal battle with me to start this channel for a few reasons. One, I was really worried and focused about what are people going to think, what are people going to say. You've got another channel, you know, especially people who are close to you. You know, you're talking your business, you mustn't talk your business. And you know, us in the Black community, we are very much guarded. We don't like to share our experience. We don't like to talk about issues. You know, everything is very much guarded. And I think that's something that I am trying to move forward and move away from. At the same time, I understand that it's important for me to strike a healthy balance between what I share and what I don't share. So anything I'm not comfortable with sharing, I'm not going to share. Things that I'm comfortable with sharing about my story and my journey, I'm going to be sharing it on this. Another reason why I was really apprehensive about starting this channel, and why I was procrastinating actually, is because I wanted the perfect setting, right? I had a vision in my mind of what I wanted my background to look like. I wanted it to look aesthetically pleasing to the eye. You know, I wanted it to be colorful. I just wanted it to be a really beautiful setting. And because I hadn't got the things that I needed, you know, I wanted a better camera, I wanted a ring light, I wanted this fancy stuff behind me. Because I hadn't got that, I kept putting off starting this channel. And then I've just been thinking to myself, you know what? When you started That Mr. TV, you didn't have anything, but you started. And it just reminded me that sometimes in life, you just need to start. Start with what you have. And there's a word in that, isn't it? Just start with what you have. I wanted everything perfect before I started, and life isn't always like that. So just start with what you have, as long as you start. So that's where I am, guys. There's no pretty background, there's no beautiful aesthetic. That will come. I don't have the best camera, but that will come, right? I have me, I have my voice, and I do have a camera, okay? So that's what it is. So guys, let's get into this. Let's get into this topic. So on my other channel, That Mr. TV, about 2 years ago, and we've had the channel for about 2 years now. About 2 years ago, I posted a video which was really emotional, and I spoke a little bit about why I actually came to Jamaica in the first place. You know, the fact that I had walked out of my marriage and I had come to Jamaica to kind of get a little time away, clear my head, think, and so on. And I tell you what, guys, before I even put that video out, I always had a plan. When I left my marriage, because I was in a physically abusive marriage, well, an abusive marriage, okay? When I left, when I walked out, I always knew that I wanted to speak to people. Like, I wanted to reach out to people. I wanted to speak to people. I wanted to share my experiences. I just wanted to help somewhere, and I don't know how. Like, I didn't know how or where or when. I just know I wanted to speak to people and try and help by sharing my journey and sharing my experiences. And this was very early on when I just walked out. And when I put that video out, and I'm going to link that video in the description box. I've taken it off my other channel because I received some nasty comments, not many, but it just kind of discouraged me and I took it down. But I'm going to put it back up because, guys, I'm no longer going to be fearful of what people think. I'm no longer going to be fearful of people's opinions. I'm going to put out and say what I want to say, okay? And I'm going to speak my truth. And so I'm not going to let people's opinions and judgments hold me down any longer. And that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life. And when I put that video out, guys, the response was phenomenal. Like, when I put that video out about like kind of coming to Jamaica and walking out of my marriage because of abuse, the response I got, not just the sympathy and the empathy from people, and the very kind words and encouragement, but people, ladies, women who reached out to me and said, listen, I've been there before, I've been in your situation, I know what it's like. Not even just that, I had a mass amount of women reach out to me and say, this is what I'm going through right now. The story that you're saying, everything you're saying that you've been through is what I'm going through right now, and I don't even know how to come out of it. I want to leave, I don't know how, I've got children, I'm stuck, I feel stuck. And let me tell you, you see, when I received that response, it was almost like confirmation or clarification that, Deezer, this is what you need to do. You need to share your journey. You need to share your journey. Doesn't matter how difficult it is. We all go through difficult periods in life. But I want to share my journey. Like, I want to share my journey, and I want to be a support to somebody or to people, because that response was like, it was overwhelming. And so 2 years later, here I am on Talks with Deezer. All right, guys, let's get into it. So, a little bit of background, a little bit of context. So, I was married for probably, well, when I walked out of my marriage, I was married at the time for maybe just under 10 years. Yeah, just under 10 years. And in a relationship for about 13 years or so. Yeah, 13 years, just under 13 years. And I just want to put this out there. And please, guys, don't think that I'm entertaining anything, that I'm saying anything is right with abuse, because I'm not. But I think it's important to put this out there. So the almost 10 years of me being in, or almost 13 years actually, of me being in that relationship was not abusive all the way through. It wasn't. It was about the 6th year into the marriage where the first encounter of physical abuse happened. So prior to that, those 6 years before, 5 years before, there was no physical abuse. I'd never experienced that. I'd never experienced that in any relationship, or I've never experienced that. It's not something that I've witnessed growing up. It's not something that I've seen. And I guess I was the type of person, you know, when you see that on TV or you hear about it, that could never happen to me. That could never happen to me. I was one of them, right? But about the 6th year in, the first incident happened. And when that happened, I left for about a week. And then I came back. Yeah, came back to the marital home. And so there were like separate instances between, I'd say, year 6 and year 9, yeah, where physical abuse took place. Now, if you know anything about physical abuse, you know that it's not just physical abuse, is not just in a box by itself. There are other forms of abuse associated. Of course, there's a mental abuse, there's verbal abuse, emotional abuse. It all ties in until it gets to that point of physical abuse, okay? And I want to say there was probably about 5 or 6 incidences in total. In the total time I was in that relationship, 5 or 6 instances of physical abuse. Now, I know, and you know, that one incident of physical abuse is too much. It's too much. But like I said, there's about 5 or 6, and I just wanted to put that in context, because I wasn't going through every day in fear of my life or anything like that, no. I feel like, you know, they say that women check out of a marriage or a relationship mentally before they leave physically. That was so true for me. That was so true for me. And guys, don't get me wrong. Of course, there are ups and downs in any marriage, any relationship. That comes as part of the territory, right? But I think it got to a point where the downtimes outweighed the good times. The bad times started to outweigh the good times, and I was just so unhappy. And you know, of course there were good times before that. You know, we had laughs, we would, you know, go on vacations, travel across the world. Of course there were good times, but it got to a point where the bad times just, especially with the abuse, and I think it started with the abuse, the bad times just overtook the good times. You know, it just clouded out the good times. And I just felt low, I felt down, I was so unhappy, and I had checked out. I had physically checked out. And I want to say this is not, I'm not trying to bash anybody, okay? I'm not trying to bash the person I was with, the person I was married to. It's not about bashing anybody, because we all go through our things. We all go through our down points. And I truly believe that period of time was down to probably depression, and some other factors. So it's not about bashing people. This is just about sharing my side, okay, and talking my truth. So it's not about bashing anybody, bringing anybody down. So I had checked out, right? I had mentally checked out a long time ago. And to be fair, I should have left a long time ago. And it's really funny, you know, you need to be careful what you say, because it will come true. But it's how I felt. I always used to say, and I think this is truly how I felt. I always used to say, you know, that if I wasn't married, I don't think I'd be in this relationship. Like, I think I would have left a long time ago. But what kept me, guys, what kept me staying in that relationship for so long was the fact I was married. Now, in my family, in my very close-knit family, like my very immediate family, the role models and the examples that I've seen growing up is people being married. My parents are married. You know, I grew up in obviously I grew up in a marital home. My parents are still married, you know, and my other family members are married. And I didn't know anybody that in my immediate family that separated or gone through a divorce, you know. It was, as the vow say, you know, for better, for worse, right? And let me tell you why I stayed so long. Because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed of what I was going through. I couldn't tell anybody. Like, I didn't feel like I could tell anybody. I felt like a failure. Like, I really felt like a failure. I felt like if I walked out of the marriage, or if I left, that I would be a failure. Like, I'm a failure. I'm a failure to myself. I'm a failure to everybody else. Because, you know, once you get married, it's a lifelong commitment, right? And let me tell you something. I believe in marriage. I believe in the institution of marriage. And of course, it's unfortunate that my marriage didn't work. But I think I got to a stage as well that whilst I believe in marriage, and I believed in marriage at that time, and yes, I was embarrassed, and that's why I stayed. I felt like a failure, as I said. I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be condemned by others. I also knew that what was going on was wrong. Like, I knew it was wrong. Like, I knew I shouldn't be sitting in this and going through this. And like I said, I checked out, right? I'd already checked out mentally a long time ago. So, the events leading up to me actually walking out the door was actually, let me go back a little bit, right? So I remember it was Christmas Eve. I can't remember what year. It was Christmas Eve, and we were going to be having Christmas at our house. We didn't really have Christmas at our house, but we were going to be having Christmas at that year at our house. I remember Christmas Eve, an incident of physical abuse took place. I remember it so clearly. Like, I remember it so clearly. And I remember, and I'm going to share this, some of this incident, what it was. I don't remember what the argument or what the disagreement, or I don't remember what happened. But I remember being, like, pinned against the wall. And I remember a meat cleaver being held to my face. Like, being held to my face. Like, me being threatened. Now, if you know a meat cleaver, the big meat cleavers that they cut meat with, the butchers cut meat with, I remember one of them being held to my face. It was at that moment, something clicked. Like, something just clicked and said, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not staying this any longer. And I remember the next morning I got up, and I believe he probably left for work before me. Yeah, I got up the next morning and I packed like an overnight bag. I picked up all my important documents and I just left. Like, I just walked out, and that was it. I just left, and that was the day I left. Just left with what I had: the clothes on my back and a bag, overnight bag, and my, like, you know, your important documents, your passport, and stuff like that. And I mean, throughout the course of a few months, I did go back to pick up, like retrieve the rest of my stuff. That's another story in itself. But I did go back to retrieve some of my stuff. And I just left. A few days after that, or maybe a couple of weeks after that, I booked a flight to come to Jamaica because, like I said, and I've shared a bit of this story already. Like I said, in the video, which is posted in the description, I talk about coming to Jamaica because Jamaica was just like where I could find my peace, right? And just have time to think. And I've also shared a little bit of this story on Throp, when Throp interviewed me. I'll link that as well, actually, in the description. And I came to Jamaica, and you know what? There were no flights from London at that time, because I'm from London. There were no flights from London. I booked it the next day. I booked it the day before to fly the next day. There were no flights in from London. The only flight leaving was from Scotland, Glasgow. Now, guys, I've never been to Scotland in my life. Never been to Glasgow, right? But I was determined I'm flying out. So I made my way to Glasgow, Scotland, and I then obviously got my flight from Scotland to Jamaica. And you know, I was meant to be here for 2 weeks, and that turned into like 2 months. And I've spoken a little bit about that as well, so I won't go too much into that. But that was the moment that I left, right? And I'm going to tell you this. You see, the day I left, the morning I left, it was like the biggest weight had come off my shoulders. It was like, and this is how I describe it. When people ask me how you know, like people ask me, how are you feeling? All I could say was, I feel at peace. Like, I felt at peace. I didn't feel upset. I didn't feel upset. I didn't cry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't emotional. I just felt at peace. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, this big weight that's been holding me down has been released. And there was just a sense of peace. Like, I just felt a sense of peace. Like, I can't even describe it, but that's the only word that I can think of that comes close. I had a sense of peace and relief. And I like to say that that's where, I don't want to say starting life over again, because my life has always been there, but that was starting the next chapter. And let me tell you something as well, guys, and I think I'm going to do this in 2 parts because I don't want this to be too long and drawn out. But you would have thought that me getting up and leaving this toxic relationship, because that's what it was, toxic, in all aspects, leaving this toxic relationship, that would be the start of my happy beginnings, right? Happy beginnings. No. leaving that marriage, walking out that day was not the beginning, was not the start of my happy beginning. Far from. Guys, I had to encounter so many things after leaving. And I think sometimes that's probably the part that you don't hear about. I think sometimes it sounds like, oh, you know, you've left this abusive marriage or this toxic marriage or this marriage or relationship that you're unhappy in, you've left. So now you can begin to heal and be happy and just go and live a great life. No, it wasn't like that for me, okay? And that's why I really want to share this as well. I don't want anybody to be under the illusion that, not because you see me here living in Jamaica, you know, I have a great relationship with Outlaw. I'm so happy. Like, everybody that sees me, who knows me from before, says, you are just so happy. Yes, I am happy, but it's taken time to get here. I had to go through so much before getting to this place and after walking out of that door, walking out of my marital home. Yeah, I had to go through so much. And I'm going to share some of that. I can't share all of it. I'm going to share some of that in a part 2. Guys, I feel like by walking out, actually, not by walking out, because I walked out, I kind of lost everything. Like, I lost everything. Can you imagine walking out, losing everything, and then trying to have to pick up the pieces and start again? Like, you know? But like I said, I'm going to do that in part 2, for sure. And, you know, before I close, I just want to just encourage someone, even if it's just one person. If this is something you're going through, or you're going through something in life, it doesn't even have to be what I went through, okay? I just want to say, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Take it from me. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You know, sometimes it seems impossible, because it felt impossible for me. Like, it felt impossible. I didn't think I'd ever leave because I was embarrassed, because I didn't want to be seen as a failure. I didn't think that, I couldn't see like the bright future ahead. I couldn't see that. because obviously at that moment you're so wrapped up in what's going on. But just please hold on. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Speak to who you need to speak to. Get the help you need to get. Try and get support from somebody or people if you can. Because there is light at the end of the tunnel. Your happiness is there. Like, there is happiness at the end of it. Like, look at me. I'm just a living example of this, all right? And like I said, I'm going to share part 2 of this story about the downfall before the upfall after leaving, right? And share some of the things I've had to go through. Guys, it's not normal. Trust me, it's not normal. And I want to really share it with you. But I just really wanted to share this story because, like I said, some of you already know some of my journey, and some of you are new to this. And I want this platform to be able to give people a voice. Now, we don't always have to talk about doom and gloom and negative things, of course not. I want this platform to be able to talk about serious issues, but to also talk about celebrating life, celebrating achievements. Guys, this is our channel, and whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm here for it. I really also want to put this out there. If anybody is out there watching that wants to be a part of this channel, you want to come and sit next to me, you want to, maybe we can do a Zoom interview, and you want to share an experience, or you want to talk to people about whatever it might be, get in contact with me, okay? I'm going to put the details on the screen now. It's going to be the same details as Datmisa TV contact, just to keep everything easy and simple. So if there's any topic you'd like me to talk about, if there's anything you want to talk about, you want to come and share this platform with me, put your story out there, share your experiences. Guys, it could be anything, right? It could be anything. It could be anything, honestly. I don't want this to be a one-sided kind of channel where we just talk about certain things. I want this to be open to anything, men as well as women, all right? So guys, I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into my journey thus far, a very small insight. There is going to be a part 2, and I'm going to talk about leaving, what I lost, how I had to pick myself up, and how I made it to where I am today, a few years later. So please stick around for part 2. Guys, thank you so much for your love and support. I thank each and every one of you. Please look out for the next video on Talks with Diza.